Not. Okay. Welcome back to our Amud Yomi Shiur. Thank you to everybody who came here to Avos Shalom. Thank you to everybody watching us on Torah Anytime and on YouTube. We are in our Amud Yomi Seder Kiddushin Samiches Amud Aleph in the bottom of the page. We are learning about the 4 different types of invalid. Not all are invalid. 4 different types of Kiddushin that are, I would say, illegal. According to the Judaism, there are 4 types of people you cannot marry. Yeah, and we are now down to the last type. The last one is when a Jew unfortunately marries a non-Jewish person or a shifcha. And in that case, we say that the Kiddushin is the Kiddushin valid? Kiddushin is not valid. The Kiddushin does not apply. And when Rabbi Juliet and Father Romeo are making the Kiddushin together. You know they do. The priest and the rabbi, the Mekadesh them together, So could be a very interesting ceremony, but nothing really took place. Yeah, there's nothing happened either way, either a Jewish boy with a non-Jewish girl or vice versa. It just didn't happen. She's not an Eshesish. And the question is, how do you know? And also the Vlad, what happens with the Vlad? The boy that's born from a Jewish person, a Jewish man, and a Goyish woman, who is the Vlad Mamzer? Jewish father, non-Jewish mother. No, the other way around. Jewish father, non-Jewish mother. Yes, this way around. The Vlad is a Jew. He's not a Mamzer. What was the definition of the Mishnah? If you marry someone or you have relations with someone that has Kiddushin with most of the Jewish nation, but not with you, your sister, your mother, your daughter, then it's a Mamzer. But if you have relations with someone whom what nobody has Kiddushin with, she's not Boras Kiddushin, that kind of person is not Kiddushinable. Such a person, whoever her children follow her, and they're regular goyim, regular goyim. Either when their last name is I don't know, Rosenzweigenberg, but they're going. Possibly that's also Now let's see what the Gemara is to say. We mentioned 2 women in that category. One of them is a Shifcha Knainis. One of them is a regular Goya. Now, Shifcha Knainis is not a non-Jewish person. Shifcha Knainis, although she's called Shifcha Knainis, halacha applies to her. Yeah, if she breaks Shabbos, she gets Misa. Yeah, and all that. Shifcha Knainis and Eved Knaini are they're not regular Jewish people, but for many intents and purposes, they're called Jewish. Yeah, if you kill them, you chayiv misa. Yeah, unless whatever in certain cases, but in most cases chayiv misa. So how do you know shifcha knainis? How do you know minolan that the kiddushin doesn't apply? Omar Ravuna, Omar Kro, because the pasuk says Ravuna shvulachem poi im hachamoir. Avram Avinu told Ishmael and Eliezer. Eliezer was an Eved. And it was a big tzaddik Eliezer. Nevertheless, Eliezer was what? Eliezer was told by Avram to you and Ishmael should sit here with the donkey. Why is Avram telling them sit here with the donkey? Who cares if they're sitting with a donkey or sitting next to the chimpanzee? And says the Gemara, Am hadoim because when it comes to Kiddushin and Gerushin and all the area of Erva and Kiddushin, they are likened, they're compared to a chamor, meaning Kiddushin doesn't apply to them. Kiddushin doesn't apply to, and by the way, and also Eved Knaini is not Ben Kiddushin, as we saw earlier in the Masechta. Eved Knaini, Shifra Knainis, they can just cohabit with whoever they want within their group of the Avodim Knainim, but Kiddushin doesn't apply to them. Even Eved Ivri, which is a big exception to the rule, I don't know if you noticed, but whenever we say about Eved Ivri and the Shifra Knainis, the only Jewish person who's allowed to marry a Shifra Knainis, I'm using the English word marry and I don't like it, but the only one that can marry Shifra Knainis is an Eved Ivri. But it never says Mekadesh. It always says Meyached. Yes. It doesn't say that he's Mekadesh to Shifra Knainis. Because Shifra Knainis, he can't be Mekadesh, just like he can't be Mekadesh to stable, he can't be Mekadesh to Shifra Knainis. They live together as a couple, living together, like it's very normal, yeah? But it's not called Kiddushin. Okay, so far so good. Ashkechan delo tafsi b'Kiddushin. I know that Kiddushin now doesn't apply to her. Good. But Vladok Moiso Minolan, how do you know that the Vlad is like her? How do I know that if, let's say, a regular nice Jewish boy had relations, it's not so nice, because they had relations with the Shifcha Knainis. How do you know that the Avodim follow her and are like her? Look at Rashi, please, and tell me what you think. Ha'isha v'yiladea, v'shifcha Knainis sheyichda, yichda leved ivri, v'ava makro delo yetze haben chovshim oviv, which means, this pasuk, Ha'isha v'yiladea tiyel adonea, says what? The woman, which woman? The shifcha, and her children, they stay with the master, which means if Mr. Eved Ivri, after 6 years, is not interested in staying, right? He's not staying the extra time. What happens then? He goes back to freedom as an Eved Ivri, back to his family, and the Shifcha Knaini stays behind with her children, all staying by the Odin as Avodim. So that means they gained her status, and just like she's a Shifcha Knainis, they too are Avodim Knainim. That's the easy part. And that's how it always goes. Yeah, we know that she's not Baas Kiddushin from Amud Lechamor, and the children also are like her. They stay with the Avodim status because Isha Viladea, the woman and the children are together as one unit, and the father, they do not gain his status. They don't go with him back home to the Ivrim to be fully Jewish. Nochris minolan. Oh, that's a very interesting question. How do you know that a Goisha woman, how do you know that a Nochris, one, cannot be Mekadesh? Of course, that it's, even that's not such an of course, but you can't be Mekadesh a non-Jewish woman. And now we want to know, how do you know that the Kiddushin do not apply if you did it with the Eved? Nochris minolan. Omar Kro, the Pasuk says, excuse me. Oh, before we continue, I'll give you a small introduction. The pasuk we're about to read now is a pasuk, 1 second, in Chumash Dvorim. Yeah, I can read it from here actually. Yeah, the Torah tells us that one should not allow his child, either boy or girl, to marry non-Jewish people from the Shiva Amomim. Yeah, from the 7 nations. Yeah, you can ask, besides the fact you have to kill them, that's a minor point, but also don't marry your son, don't let your son marry one of their daughters, or vice versa. So the psukim say, I'm actually reading now from the sidebar, V'loi tischaten bom, bitcha lo titen libnoi, ubito litikach libincho. Yeah, don't, right? What does it say? Don't give, bitcha lo titen libnoi, don't give your daughter to the Canaanite man, to the Knaini, ubito litikach libincho. Yeah, and don't take your daughter for your son. Don't take a Canaanite girl, a Knaani girl, for your son. Okay, so it works both ways. Fine. And then the pasuk says, the next pasuk, I'm not reading in the Gemara now, it's in the sidebar. Ki yosir es bincho ma'achorai ve'ovdu Eloi mecherim ve'chorav Hashem bechem v'yishmidcha maher. You know why you shouldn't let your children, I'm talking now in general, to marry out? You know what's going to happen? Because yosir es bincho ma'achorai. Let's now assume bincho means your grandson. You know what's going to happen with your grandson? Well, your son-in-law, the Goy, the Knani, will remove him from me, from Hashem. Yeah, every Sunday church. That's where they're going to go. Yeah, they're going to listen to who? Pat Robertson. Yeah, there will be, he'll make him with Goy Shashkofe. That's why I shouldn't marry out. Interesting. Yeah, because your grandson will end up being an Oved Avodah Zarah, influenced by his Goyish father. Okay, so it's very interesting because the first pasuk discusses both ways, why your son shouldn't marry out and your daughter. The second pasuk that's concerned about bad influence only talks about the case of your daughter marrying a goy, right? And his son will, which is your goyish son-in-law, will make sure that your grandson will go off the derech. Your grandson will become an idol worshiper because his father would want to raise him like him. Church on Sunday, what do you mean? Of course, preach us on the internet. I want him to grow like myself, like me. And that's a very, if you hop something here is off a little bit. If you're already beginning to hop something here, it doesn't work right. So let's see what the Gemara has to say. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Mishum Rab Shimon ben Yochai. The Amar Kro, it says in the Pasuk, Ki Yosir es bincha me'acharai. You know what's going to happen? Out of the 2 cases, The only case we're concerned about is he. Who's he? Your goyish son-in-law, Yosir, is male. He'll remove your son's heart. Who's your son? It's your grandson, must be. Because we're talking here about the son-in-law, the goyishe. He'll take your grandson, which is your son, bnei bonim kebonim, and he will make sure that he's going off the Jewish derech, is going to go and learn in St. Bartholomew School. And from there we learn, and that's good for the source, bincha bam Israelis koi bincha, your son who comes from Israelis, meaning your grandson from your Jewish daughter who married a non-Jewish man, is still called your son. And Rashi points out that's why we're concerned that he's going off the derech to be an Oved Avodah Zarah, because he's still Jewish. As opposed to, it's very glaring, yeah, the lack of the other case is glaringly missing here. Why doesn't it say, excuse me, if your son will marry the Goyish girl, yeah, if he'll marry the Canaanite girl, she'll remove your grandson from the derech. The mother has a lot of influence. Yeah, the mother will say, "Oh, my kid, go to church." Will say your Goyish daughter-in-law. Why aren't you concerned about that? You know that because you're Jewish and you're a Talmid Chacham and you live 2024. But that's good for the source, my friends. The fact that we all know to say by heart that the daughter, if the daughter-in-law is not Jewish and the son is not Jewish, that's the source. When the Torah is telling you your son, i.e. grandson, will be removed from Derech HaTorah, that is to say, only when he's still Jewish. But I'm still concerned he's living in an environment which is 50% of a Zorah, 50% let's go to the church or to the base of the to the Zen Buddhism center. Yeah, because his tat is going to take him, and that's a real concern for you as a grandfather because your Jewish grandson. Mashma, that's a Jewish grandson. Mashma the other way. But when the son, your son, married the goite, the concern may be much bigger. But there's no of the derech. The eniklach are goyim. There's no of the derech there. They're just completely goy. Who cares what they're doing already? Yeah, they're out completely. And that's gufa. That gufa is the source. The Rishonim here point out, and this is a small introduction for the next piece. One could have argued that the pasuk is not saying that. Maybe the pasuk means to talk not about the grandchildren. Maybe the son himself. Maybe it's coming to tell you. Maybe it's telling you, Yosir's bincha, your mechutan, Mr. You know the name. You know the name. I don't think Mackenzie is a Canaanite name actually, right? It's originally Scottish. So let's say your Abdallah, your mechutan, yeah, the father of the bride or the groom, yeah, maybe they are the ones who are going to remove your son or daughter from the derech. So it says it's not so mashma because many times the children themselves, the Ramban says, they can say, no, we're adults and we'll stay with our faith. And that does happen. I'm sure I know people that are from 90% and they're married out. They keep Shabbos, they keep kosher, they keep even more details, and they're married to Goethe. So you can say, I'm okay. I love she's a lovely girl. She studies law. She's nice, pretty, spiritual. She loves gefilte fish. She likes light candles, Shabbos. She's not Jewish. Who cares? And I'll stay Jewish. And I'll stay Jewish with black keep. And she's not Jewish. That could possibly work, but not for the children. The children shall say, "Ma pitom, the kid should grow like me." At least 50%. The kids will be messed up and go. That's a problem. I mean, the other way around. I meant with the father is going. So, yeah. So that's a thing. But yeah, we're talking about the grandson. Your grandson will not be a goy if his father is a goy and the mother is Jewish. But still, you shouldn't allow that because of the bad influence of the zara of the father. Omar Ravina. Ravina now points out what I just said, that we're talking about the third generation and not second generation. Shma Mina ben bitcho. He just wants to point out that it's taka the grandson, not the son. Ben bitcho, the son of your daughter, that came from a goy, your goyish son-in-law, korui bincha, is called your son, meaning that we follow the mother. We follow the mother because the other way around, if it's a goyish mother, then the child is a goy. That's exactly what we're trying to get to. Wait a second. Let's now think, and I would like maybe to read Rashi inside, and let's see now the following question. Name a Kasava Ravina. Maybe Ravina is trying to tell us, let us say that Ravina is really trying to say, Oivet Kochovin the Eved Habo al Bas Yisrael. If you have a goy or an Eved that had relations with a Jewish girl, either with marriage, not marriage, any other marriage doesn't catch. Yeah, a Vlad mamzer. Maybe the Vlad is a mamzer. Why should the Vlad be mamzer? We're suggesting here, unfortunately, very common in the Jewish world, that if the father is a goy and the mother is Jewish, maybe the Vlad is a mamzer. Why should it be a mamzer? Why should it be a havamina? Let's think. Let's stop knowing what we already know from our knowledge of Jews 2024. Let's think of the Mishnah that we learned not that long ago. What did we learn in the Mishnah? We learned in the Mishnah that when Kiddushin don't catch, right? Let's say by Isul Kores is a way to get to what? To Kiddushin that just don't catch. One wants to marry sister, the Kiddushin just doesn't chap. It's true. Over there it's Isul Kores, and we had the formula. I don't want to put it in the whiteboard because it's just too simple. Isul Kores leads me to Kiddushin that are just Chapnisht, nothing happened, no Kiddushin, it's just a show. And Mimela the Vlad is Mamzer. When a Goy married an Israelis, a Jewish girl, yeah, it's true that it's not Kores. I don't need Kores. The Kiddushin doesn't chap. And we said the rule is that if the Kiddushin don't chap, Kiddushin don't apply, the Vlad is Mamzer. So excuse me, says the Gemara. According to that, if the Goy had relations with a Jewish girl, I don't care if they got married or not. It's not marriage, yeah, it's a joke, it's a sham. Lamaisa, maybe the Vlad should be mamzer, meaning Bishlama, in some ironic way, the other way of intermarriage is in a way, don't get me wrong, please, or don't quote me, yeah, is in a way better. If the kid is a goy, you can be megayer him. You're a good Jewish grandfather, yeah, maybe you can be megayer. When your daughter-in-law is a goyte, so it's completely goy. A goy can be megayer, become a kosher Jew. Mashenkin this way could be even worse. Why? He is Jewish. The mother is Jewish. The father is a goy. Father is a goy. That's a psul, because the kiddushin don't chap there. And I thought last time I checked, if kiddushin don't chap, then what? Then the Vlad is mamzer. So maybe non-Jewish father and Jewish mother, maybe the kid is a mamzer. Contemplate for a second before thinking about what you know today. I'm talking according to the Gemara. Yes, it's a question which we have to appreciate. Yes, what do you want to say? Let me just stop right here. Let me stop right here. The concept of kiddushin out of wedlock doesn't really, we don't care about that at all. I mean, chas v'shalom, people shouldn't have kids out of wedlock, don't get me wrong. But let me explain something before we continue. That's like like a commercial, we insert here. Because that's what the goyim think. When a regular Jewish boy who is marriageable, is a kosher boy that can marry anybody he wants. Unfortunately, the Yetzer Hara got the better of him. He had relations with a girl who is a regular good Jewish girl who's not related to him, and it's not mamzeres, and not nesina, and not goita. They're just regular Jewish boy and regular Jewish girl who may get married. They just didn't do it. The Vlad is not mamzer. And you know that. Oh. Masha'en ken, when the two people have issues with marriage and cannot marry each other, even if they wanted to, yeah, then sometimes the Vlad is mamzer. And the general rule is it's a mamzer. Yeah. If two people have relations it's true, it's out of wedlock. But that's not the issue. The issue is that this kind of women or men, they together can never get married, even if they wanted to, such as brother and sister, because the Kiddushin don't chap. Then the Vlad is mamzer. Are we good now? Following that, I'm sorry, I'm insisting on behalf of the Gemara. So if Mackenzie marries Rosenstein-Zweig, marries, it's a cut of wedlock. Or I don't, what, you're right, you didn't marry. They had a nice time in university and a graduation party, right? I don't know what they do there, yeah? The goy and the Jewish girl, unfortunately not science fiction. And then they had a baby, she forgot to whatever, they had a baby, excuse me. And then what? The baby should be a mamzer, asks the Gemara. Why? Because they can't get married. If they're not marriageable, the Vlad should be a mamzer, question mark. Okay, that's not a halacha, don't worry, but that's a question you have to appreciate. And I'm not reading Rashi now. Let's continue now for the answer, and then we'll see. Answers the Gemara, no. Nehi de kosher lohavi, mamzer lohavi either. Posul mikri, there are three levels, kosher, mamzer, and posul. The boy is not kosher. The boy and the girl married from, and that's a bit of a shock for us maybe. The one born from a goyish father to a Jewish mother is not 100% kosher, however, is not a mamzer, and we're going to explain why, but it's called a third category called posul, tarnished, blemished, whatever you want to call him. Says Rashi, as we saw in the Mishnah, and this is really the answer, There's a difference between two people who can't get married. We're getting now to the finer lines. You remember category 2 versus category 4. When the person, a brother and sister, they can't marry each other. Can his sister marry other boys? Of course. The best girl in seminary, she can marry whoever she wants. Yeah. They can't marry each other, right? With each other, they're bad, but each one separately can marry whoever they want. Then the Vlad is a mamzer. But when you have, why? How do you know Vlad is a mamzer? That answers my question from a few days ago. We learn it from the father's wife. There's an extra redundant pasuk, a man with his so-called stepmother, if they have relations, the Vlad is mamzer because they can't, they're nisokos. Masha'en can, if you marry or have, I'm making the mistake of saying married all the time. You're right, it's not married. You're right and I'm wrong. But when a Goyish boy with a Jewish girl have relations, right? She can never ever marry any goy, and he can never marry any Jewish girl. It's not between them; it's between their nationalities. It's bigger. Then we say that it's not called mamzer. Mamzerus is only when it's as you said before. Now what you said is right. When it's relations or eshes ish or people between themselves, then we have the issue of what? Of she's marriageable, not for you. Mashenkin, a goy or goiter are not marriageable for anybody. Now, if it's a goyish mother, we proved from before that you go, but the mother is a regular goy. Mashenkin, when it's a Jewish girl to a non-Jewish man, the child is a posul. What's a posul? I was wondering what's posul. I started opening the Shonim Ritzvah, big discussions. Maskona, the Shulchan Aruch says, and that's halacha, my friends. I forgot that. I learned it and I forgot it. Because this person cannot marry a Cohen. And if it's a girl, she cannot marry a Cohen. In other words, Mackenzie married or didn't marry, whatever. Mackenzie married Rosenzweigenberg, whatever, the Jewish girl. Now they have a girl. The girl is Jewish, and the girl became Balas Tshuva. Beautiful, so nice, the best girl in Neve Yerushalayim. Now that girl wants to marry who? Should they offering her a shidduch with Mr. Cohen, a nice yeshiva bacher Cohen? No, what's a sheni shidduch? A sheni shidduch? No, it's not a sheni shidduch. They can't marry. Shulchan Aruch, not me. Because if she has a goyish father, she is tarnished, blemished, called whatever you want, for kehuna. Yeah, for kehuna, she's like the same level as chalola and such. So she tell the shadchan, sorry, not for me. That's what we say. Frag the Gemara, okay? Frag the Gemara. Now comes the big question. So, what was our source to tell me that the child of a non-Jewish woman with a Jewish man is a goy? From that pasuk in there in Dvarim that tells us about don't marry out into the wrong nations. Frag the Gemara, huge question. Ahu, that the Shiva Goyim Ksiv, as I told you, I warned you, that pasuk talks about the 7 nations of the used to inhabit Eretz Yisrael, Canaan, I'm not saying the right order, yeah? The 7 nations that are set in Eretz Yisrael. The pasuk talks about them. Sh'ar umas minolan. How do you know that that applies to other nations? Yeah, because it's not a b'memutzin, and soon you'll see why. Yeah, you will see maybe, so therefore, if my boy wants to marry, I don't know, a Norwegian girl or Chas Shalom or a Nigerian, a Nicaraguan or North Korean, very nice, right? Very much my style. And then what? Maybe it's okay. Or the Gemara is in Daf Lamed Vav Amud Beis and asks the question, how do you know not to marry Goita? Except for the Shiva Samomim, outside Shiva Samomim. Maybe it's not. She's a very nice person, Vietnamese. So maybe it's okay. Or at least, how do you know that the Kiddushin don't catch? Yeah, but Yevid answers the Gemara, Omar Kro, Ki Yasir Es Bincha. As I told you, when the Torah is telling you why you shouldn't marry out, all of a sudden the Torah over here is giving me the reason. You know I should marry out? You think your grandchildren will go, your Goyish grandchildren or your Jewish badly influenced children, whatever, you think they will go where? They'll go with you to shul every Friday night? Ha ha ha, says the Torah. Ki Yasir Es Bincha. Yeah, the Goyish father will remove them out of the fold of Yiddishkeit, make them like Goyim. And these words are giving us a reason for the Aveira. I'm stressing this. And that comes to tell me, L'rabbis kol hamasirim. Because these words are redundant, because the words that give you reason are extra words, they're coming to teach me something extra and tell you not only Shiva Samamim, but any goite that you marry, yeah, or any goite you marry, any person would remove them from Yiddishkeit, right? It comes to include all other types of nations. Now, let me explain something before we continue to answer Shlomo's question. Before we continue, the Gemara in Chulin says that, as we all know, you all lived in Chutz La'aretz, some Christians are some Christians are very frum Christians, and some are Christian light. No, they're in between. No, there are many Christians that are like Christian light, the T light. They're not secular and not very religious. They're like in Spain and Gibraltar, many of them are like, a little bit Christian when he feels like, no, in England you have such people, I imagine. Yeah, they're like, kind of somewhere in the middle, very chafif. Now what? There are many secular. Yes. What? There are no Frumans anymore, Kiman. In Europe, right. So, yeah, okay, right. And Islam is on the rise. So, yeah. So now, what's the story? Why am I telling you this? Because when you have the Shiva Samomim, the Goyim who lived in Eretz Yisrael, they were much more adherent, much more religious than the other ones that their counterparts outside Eretz Yisrael. Eretz Yisrael, there's more Kedushin, more Tuma. So therefore, Havamina would be, that really maybe you shouldn't marry, let's say, don't let your daughter marry a non-Jewish man from Eretz Yisrael, a Canaanite, because he's a devout Oved Avodah Zarah. But if he's from China, if he's from Uruguay, maybe it's not such a big problem. The father is not such a big Oved Avodah Zarah, not so adherent, not so religious. Yeah. So now the Torah is telling me, L'Rabbi Skola Mesirim, all other nations, even the ones that are less religious, even them, don't marry out into them. And if you did, it doesn't catch. And if you did, I'm saying, and if you did, and if you did, we said that the son goes after the mother. Now, frag the Gemara, right? So now we're learning L'Rabbi Skola Mesirim, not only the very devout ones, even the other ones, it applies globally. And we know that from the extra words, Ki Yosir Esbincha, when the Torah gives me a reason. Now we're coming to the question which follows us throughout the whole Shas. Hanicha l'Rab Shimon the Dorish time dikro, ela l'Rabbanon my time. Oh, that pasuk is as follows. I'm sorry, I want to close this for a minute because the noise is. Okay. Which means as follows. Rab Shimon has a shita in Bava Metzia. We saw towards the end of Bava Metzia that whenever the Torah is telling me a reason, it's something redundant. As you noticed, I'm sure, in your journey through Chumash, the Torah does not look like the beginner's guide to Judaism in Esha Torah or Sameach. Meaning, the Torah mostly doesn't give you reasons for each and every mitzvah, right? It gives you a lot of Ashkofa and Musar, and the Torah tells you do's and don'ts. The Torah rarely gives you a reason about one particular mitzvah. Don't do this because of that, right? There are exceptions, such as Bayamelech, a king shouldn't have too many wives because he's going to do this. Not too many, don't buy too many horses because you're going to go to Mitzrayim. Oh, so now, when the Torah gives you a reason, for example, in the story of Almona, it says, do not take a collateral from an almona, from a widow. Why not? Says Rab Shimon, well, of course, I know the reason by myself, because, Rab Shimon says, a woman who is a rich person, you're allowed to be memashkan her, you're allowed to take collateral from a rich widow, not from a poor one. Says Rab Shimon, because I can figure out the reason myself. When the Torah tells me averos or mitzvahs, I can figure out myself the own reason. I'm big enough for that. For example, but the rich and act upon it. So let's say, by the case of the almana, if I know that there's a rich woman, I don't have to give her the collateral every day and every night. She has 50 dresses. If I take one dress, it's not going to phase her, not going to bother her. No problem, I can take it, and then v'chule. Mashenkin, the aniya, the poor one, she only has one dress. Every day I'll have to give her back every morning the dress, and her neighbors will think that there's some unhealthy relationship between us. That's what the Gemara says. So Rab Shimon says, when the Torah gives you a reason, it's a redundant thing. It's lahavdil, like a person who tells you, don't give me reasons. I know already. If the Torah does give you a reason, it's coming to teach you extra halacha. And that's very good now to what we're saying. Now let's rephrase the whole post according to Rab Shimon and Shlomo. You'll see that this is beautiful. Which means, when the Torah told me, the Torah spoke about the Shiva Samomim, right? And says, stay away from them. Marriage, not with them. Your grandson, he has a nice little, you think your grandson will go to shul, nice little kippah? No, he's going to go to BSD Zara. Now, in the Torah spoke about the Shiva Samomim. Says Rab Shimon, I myself would know not to say Binyan Av. I'm smart enough to know the historical facts, the facts on the ground that those goyim are more religious, right? So I myself understand that the reason is they may remove my grandson from Yiddishkeit. Why does the Torah have to tell me that? Am I stupid? Excuse the word, yeah? Right. So why did the Torah tell me? The Torah told me no, that even goyim are less adherent, even the Oved Avodah Zarah in Australia, wherever, even them you shouldn't marry out into, because even the lighter version of the Oved Avodah Zarah don't accept. Gufa, we add that reason, l'rabes kol ha'masirin, any Oved Avodah Zarah, even the slightest one, don't get near them. Ela le'rabbanon, my time, Rabbanon have a completely different outlook on life. On the Torah, Rabbanan say no. When we have time of the Krah, usually I don't know the time of the Krah, and the Torah has to tell me the reason to know how to act, how to behave. I wouldn't have known the reason otherwise. So when the Torah told me, don't stick to the Shiva Amomim, I don't know what to do. I know Shiva Amomim well, but I don't know about the other ones. Yes, no, maybe so. Then comes the turn, tells me, why don't stick to the Shiva Amomim? Listen carefully. Why not to them? Because they are very religious. It's just the other way around. Mashma, not the other ones all around the world. Because I did not, my starting point was not knowing the reason. So the Torah is telling me, why you shouldn't marry those very frum of the Zara? Because they're very, very frum. So those in China and Japan, those in New Zealand, they can marry. So back to square one. Let's see how Tosfos says it a bit differently. Let's look at Tosfos inside. We have time for Tosfos, and this is one of, obviously, the all Tosfos are delicious, but this is one is especially. Look at the last Tosfos in the page. He's not saying what I said. Mine was more like Rashi, but he's saying similar. Hanichel Rab Shimon. Look at the last Tosfos, 4 lines from bottom of the page. Hanichel Rab Shimon. Says Tosfos, Pirush. The Darish time of the Koi, Rab Shimon always darshans by himself, without anybody else telling him, what are the reasons to each mitzvah and avera. Hachinami Omar Taima de Chitun. Yeah. The Torah gave me the reason why not marrying out into the local Knainim. The Loksiv Ki Yosir, if not for the Torah telling me that they remove you from Torah, your grandson, Havamina Misvoro. Rab Shimon applies his Svara before the Torah tells him the Svara. Very nice. My own understanding, I know history, I know anthropology, I know the reasons of the Torah. Great. Shiva Amamim, and only then, they're the frumest ones for the Zara. I know that already. So why does the Torah have to repeat? So don't marry. Because of Achmanu Ki Yosir. So why is the Torah adding the reason? I know the reason. To tell you no. Extra words for extra nations. Even the guy from California, not such a big Avodah Zara, even him you shouldn't marry. Gufa to add that. But according to Rabbanon, Rabbanon do not go with Torah reasons. Rabbanon, you follow the Torah as it's written without coming with your own reasons. If so, ilav ko yesera, if not for the extra pasuk, the extra words of Yosir, Esliboy, Havamina, I would have thought Lotis Chaten Ma'ir B'chol Umois. Yeah, I would say Lotis Chaten is telling me anybody because I don't know the reason. As I told you, I don't know. So don't get married, don't marry. And as Shlomo said, very, very nicely, Shlomo, maybe it's B'mei Matzinu. Don't marry 7 nations. Well, they're all going. Who cares if the 7 nations are they're going from Kathmandu? Comes the Torah to tell me, no. There's a reason when I say 7, I mean Davka these 7 because it's super extra sticky and adherent of a desara. Maybe only them you shouldn't marry. So now how do you know the other nations? We end up reading the pasuk and saying, Taka, don't marry the frum ones to a desara. Yeah, the choshev, the real, the adherent one to a desara. So what's going on over here? So according to Rabbanon, I do not know about other goyim, only about the Oivdei of the Zorah of Eretz Yisrael. Answers the Gemara. Omar Kro, a completely different source now from the Yifas Toyar. Who is Miss Yifas Toyar? She is according to in the eyes of the Jewish soldier, she's a good-looking girl, and the Goyim placed her there on purpose to make Klal Yisrael sin. And what's the story with her? We all know. You can take her home. The Mechlokes Rashi says in the Afchapalit, if you can have relations once, you can't have relations once. It's war, right, in a hidden place. And then you take her home for a month. What does she do there during that 1 month? Enlighten me. No, she grows her hair. She what? She Vigilcha, you're right. She shaves her head, and she about the nails. I'm sorry. Thank you. The nails of Mechlokes Hashanim. She grows them or she cuts them. Yeah, and she mourns over her parents, and she looks ugly, and she's not as attractive. She doesn't look like a cover girl anymore when she's home with a shmata robe. Yeah, she looks worse than your wife. Yeah, and what? And then that's what Rashi says. And now what? And after that, if you still want her, bevakasha, then what does it say? What does it say? Afterwards, tovoy elea ubealto. Then tovoy lo bealto. You have relations with her, you be'alta, yeah, and then she'll become your wife. Yeah, 1 second, I want to read the source inside. Yeah. Oh, it says, yeah, only afterwards, only after she converted properly, then she'll be then she will be your wife by Kiddushin. Michlal, that is to say, the mikore lo tafse b'kiddushin. Very good. Only after she went through conversion, then hoisa, then she becomes your wife. Before that, even if she felt very Jewish and wanted to be Jewish, but the Kiddushin don't chap. I'll ask you a question. Why is that better than the other source? Maybe that only talks about the Shiva Amamim. Maybe that girl is only one of the 7 nations that are problematic to begin with. How do you know if the girl is from, I don't know, Portugal? Then the same thing applies. Answer here, the Meforshim say clearly, because if she came from the 7 nations, you don't capture them, you kill them. This is talking Milchemes Reshus, Milchema outside Eretz Yisrael. The Rav spoke about yesterday. You wage war against, against Azerbaijan. Yeah, so then and you take the girls. That's the story here. You're not, otherwise she would have been dead. So therefore, you see that even outside the 7 nations, if you marry the Goyish girl, the Kiddushin don't catch, don't apply. Frag the Gemara, good, right? We're halfway through. Ashkecha de lo tafsiba Kiddushin. We know that the Kiddushin don't apply to her. Since we abandoned the pasuk of Shiva Amamim, so now how do you know that the Vlad, that the child is like her, the child is a goy? Back to the pasuk in Kiseitze, in that same parsha there we saw yesterday. Right? Remember the pasuk. If a man has 2 wives and they give birth for him, they become mothers for him. Yolduloi, yeah. Tihiena leish. What's tihiena always? Married legally, mikudeshes, and yolduloi, and then they have birth to him. What's loy? They have his babies, yeah. Kol hecha de Canaan beiki tihiena, Canaan baby yolduloi. When they are under the definition of kitiena, then they're also called yolduloi. When they are legal wives, then they are yolduloi. Very good. So that's another source, which means whenever you're not supposed to have relations with the woman to the level of what? That the Kiddushin don't chap. And we're not talking now about Isoi Kores. That's a different story from Eshes Av. We're talking about Kiddushin that don't chap, such as a goite. Then, if your Jewish wife is yours and the kids are yours, the Goyish wife is not yours and the kids are not yours. They're going. They're not Yolduloi. But now, L'choira, that should also cover, Frek de Gemore, if so, Shifchanami. So the same thing should be about a Shifcha. We just made a general rule. These women are Jewish, right? The women that we talk about, the 2 women, one of them is the mother of a B'chor. They are Jewish women who come to exclude. They are good, valid Kiddushin, and the children are yours. Your kinderlach, sach naches, you have a B'chor. Mashma, if she was a Goite, or any other woman, I'm stressing, that Kiddushin don't apply to, then the child is not yours. Who's any other woman? A Shifcha, because we're talking about a general rule. If so, Shifcha nami. So why only a Goita? Shifcha should be the same. Says the Gemara in Achinami. True. Shifcha is the same as we said before. We said about a Shifcha that if the Shifcha is, well, not if, a Shifcha, Kiddushin don't apply to her. Therefore, the kids are not yours, but hers. Excuse me, we started off the shiur. I don't know if you remember, good memory. We started off the shiur less than an hour ago, 45 minutes ago. We started the shiur saying, giving a different source for the, remember what it was? What was the source to tell me that a goisha, and not a goisha actually, a shifcha knainis, the children are hers? We had a different source. We had Amadoy Melechamo, Kiddushin don't apply. Isha v'yeladea tiyel adonea, that the children are hers and not yours. According to now to the new global cloud that we have from the two women, that tells me that any woman that Kiddushin don't apply to, her children are hers. If so, why that applies to Goisha and also to the Shifcha. So why do you need Isha v'yeladea ladonea? Right? Why do I need that? It's a redundant pasuk to tell me that, yeah, Isha v'yeladea. And it says, it's teaching me something completely different. We're moving away now from Kiddushin to a completely different story. What is the story? The story is like this. A man tells his shifchosai, look at Rashi, me'uberes. What's me'uberes? Very good. A man tells a shifcha, pregnant shifcha, he wants to give her a shtar, shichu. Oh, dream come true, possibly for her. And she's now what? What about her? She'll be a free bird. But he's telling her, your baby is a different story. Are at bas choirin uvlodech eved. You are bas choirin with the star that I'm giving you. But your unborn baby, your fetus, your embryo, your uber, the uber, he will remain what? Mine. Is that valid? Can you be Meshacher a Shifcha and not be Meshacher the Babele in her womb? Is that possible? So, Havlad Kmoiso Diva Rabbi Yosei Galili. Rabbi Yosei Galili said the Vlad is like her, meaning no, you cannot separate between mother and child, says Rabbi Yosei Galili. And really, once she is Meshucheres, the son too is Meshucho together with her once born. She'll be Meshucha. She is now in her, I don't know, 5th month of pregnancy, let's say, yeah? Now, she's out. She's a free woman. In 4 months' time, when she'll give birth in Hadassah and Karim, the child will also be free, and the Adon cannot have strings attached. That's obviously a Glili. Now, the Chachomim Oimrim, Dvarav Kayomim. Chachomim say no. What the Odin says is good, it's true. Yes, Dvarav Kayomim. In other words, the master can decide, the Shifcha is out, but the Avodim will remain mine. I mean, I guess they'll live together. The mother, they're not separating them physically, by the way. The mother and baby live together. The mother has the status of a free woman, and the kid is an Eved Knaini. Why is that? Because it says that the woman and the children belong to the master. Correct them or my Talmuda. What? How is this pasuk teaching me that the opinion of Chachamim is right? Yeah, that you can have the shifcha belonging to herself and the child to the other. Where do you see that from the pasuk? Omar Rove? No. Rabbi Yossi Aglili. That comes to prove Rabbi Yossi Aglili's point. How does it prove Rabbi Yossi Aglili's point? Look at Rashi, the second line in the Amud. Vlada Kamoya says Rashi Meshucha. Kidiolif Besefa, as we learn at the end in the pasuk, Shenema Ha'isha v'Yiladea Tia La'Adonea. The woman and her children together belong to the Adon. Meaning, now we're getting to the point. Bizman Sha'isha La'Adonea. When the Shifcha belongs to Mr. Master, then the Vlad being born also belongs to him. It's a package deal. Aisha Viladea, Tila Adonea, nothing to do with nationality. I don't care who the father is right now. That's not the issue. Nothing to do with that. Aisha Viladea is who? Her and her children are package deal. They're either both of them free or both of them are subjugated to the Odoin. And Aisha Ladonea and Vlad Ladonea. If the Shifcha is free, and she is, then the Vlad is also free. Yeah? And this is Rabbi Yossi Glili, and this is the source. And Rabbi Yossi Glili's source is the pasuk of Isha v'Ladea Tila Adonea. So let's summarize. So lemaskono. A girl from Shiva Samamim, we know the whole story. Shiva Samamim, we know that Kiddushim don't apply. Lotis Chaten, don't marry. And B'di'evet, the marriage doesn't apply. And the child belongs to the Goyish mother. We know Shiva Samamim. Says the Gemara, that's so nice. But last time I checked, there are more than Siva Amomim. You know how many countries are in the world nowadays? 170 something. Yeah, yes. So if she comes from one of the 170 other nations, 163, what about that? So for that, we had another posuk from where? From Yifastoyer. Yifastoyer is a girl who belongs to other nations. And we said, when do Kiddushin apply to that girl? Only after she's properly converted. Mashma Kiddushin before that doesn't apply. True. Now, okay, very nice. But maybe the children are Jewish. I'm the father. The last name of the man and the goite, unfortunately, by the reform, you know, it goes. A Jewish last name means that the person is a goy, and a goyish last name means that, yeah, that's Allah. And he was a guy. Then the British government, there's a woman called Braverman, and she's Indian. Braverman, the minister in the government, in your government, I assume her husband is Jewish or she's an Indian. So what's shot? Probably something like that. No, that's a story, I imagine. So then what? Right now, how do you know that the Kiddushin, that the child is hers? Because we say why? We say the Yoldu loy, kitiena lish v'yoldu loy. Your wife is legally yours, the children are yours. Your wife is not yours, b'chlal, she's a goita, the children are hers. One more item we saw in the middle, in the road, something interesting happened, and that is something interesting. Halacha lemaisa, as far as I know, Shulchan Aruch, nobody seems to be arguing. That is what? The goyish father and a Jewish mother is a kosher child, nobody says no, but if it's a she cannot marry a Cohen, right? The one married from a goy and a Jewish woman, yeah, their offspring, if it's a girl, she cannot marry a Cohen. Okay? Here's the Heilige Mishnah, says the Heilige Mishnah. Rabbi Tarfon Oimer, Rabbi Tarfon says, Yichoylin memzerin litoher. Yeah, look at Rashi. Yichoylin memzerin litoher mipsul zarom shelo yibnei mamzerim. Big problem in person is the mamzer lo aleinu. I read a very heart-wrenching story about a woman in Balas Tshuva, and she discovered she's a mamzeres mamish before she was about to get married. Mamish story. Only then she realized she was mamzeres, and she couldn't marry, and she can't marry her whole life. Very, very sad. They couldn't find a heter for her because of the reform system. So now there's a way, says Rabbi Talfman, there's hope. I'm not saying for a girl, Dafka, actually, not such a good example, but conceptually, yeah, mamzerim have a way to purify their zera, their children, that the children can marry into the community. Ketzad, how is that? Says Rabbi Talfman, mamzer shenoso shifcha, right? Beno eved. A mamzer married a shifcha, right? And Beno eved, her son is an Eved, Vlad Eved, her son goes after who? After her. So her son is an Eved. Look at Rashi, Bna Eved, ve'en mamzer, da yoldo kamoya. He's not a mamzer. You and a shifcha, even you and a goite, what about you? You have no problem. I'm not sure no problem to marry, but the Eved, the child, is not a mamzer. He's a regular Eved. Shichroi. Now he was freed, right? Nimtza ben choirin. Says Rashi, umuter b'Israelis, very good. In other words, once they free the child is, I told you, that's what they do nowadays. I'm not joking. I've heard such cases. They tell mamzerim, go to Africa and buy a shifcha knainis, yeah, and because it applies in some countries and it's legal, so it's real. I guess they like each other. I don't know. It works exactly. No choice. And then what? And then you convert the children. He frees the children, who are his children and his avodim at the same time. And now the child is a ben choirin. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, yeah, Baruch Hashem, that we're okay. Rabbi Lezer Oimer, Harei ze Eved Mamzer. Oh, we don't know why at the moment, but Rabbi Lezer argues on Rabbi Tarfon's solution. And he says, no, really, this is an Eved Mamzer. This Eved is not a regular Eved, it's an Eved Mamzer. Let's see. Now, obviously, the $1 million question, which I asked you a few days ago, is how can a Jewish person, Bechlal, marry a shifcha? Regular Jewish boy is not allowed to marry a shifcha. Maybe the word marry is wrong. You're not allowed to cohabit with a shifcha. Why? It says lo yeh kodesh. Lo yeh kodesh. Kodesh means, don't laugh, male prostitute. Namely, a male prostitute means male prostitute. There is such a thing, always was. But also, if you have relations with a shifcha, you behave as if you are, even if there's no money or anything. The behavior is low because you are not marrying. Thank you. you are having relations with a shifcha, and now what? You are now considered lo yeh kodesh. And the same thing, a Jewish girl with an Eved Knaini, lo yeh kadesha, she's like a prostitute, she's like a zoino. That's what it's called. So wait a second, let me stop right there. So you're telling me, Rabbi Tarfon, that mamzer lechatchila should go to Somalia, to Mauritania, wherever, where maybe Avdus is legal, and he should marry a shifcha? How could that be? He's a Jewish boy. Just a question, yeah? Iboilu, look at the Gemara phrases the question. Rabbi Tarfon lechatchila ka'omar, or the Eved ka'omar? Oh, when Rabbi Tarfon spoke about the mamzer shenoso shifcha, this is past tense. Did Rabbi Tarfon say, listen, if he already married the shifcha, which is wrong, he's not supposed to, but the Eved, now there's a solution because now he has a vodim that he can free and they'll have children? Or is Rabbi Tarfon saying, yes, maybe Rabbi Tarfon holds that the mamzer is allowed lechatchila to marry a shifcha, because maybe a mamzer is different to other Jews. Maybe mamzer is okay to marry the shifcha, and he goes to the rabbis and says, I'm a mamzer, I figured out I'm a mamzer, lo leinu. Yeah, there are four mothers, she married Orthodox, and then she got divorced Reformed. It's a big problem. I'm a mamzer, what do I do, rabbis, in Eshator, in Or Sameach, in Ponevish, I don't know. Yeah, so the Beis Din maybe will direct him. They'll buy the next ticket to Chad and buy a shifcha. Lechatchila, is that so? Look at Rashi. Lechatchila ka'omar. Says Rashi, mamzer noise shifcha. Maybe really Reb Tarfon thinks that it's okay for mamzer to marry shifcha. Because sovar, the chiksiv lo yeh kodesh. I told you the pasuk, when the Torah says, don't be a male zoino, B'Yisrael kosher ksiv, lo be mamzer. Maybe the whole prohibition is people that are lechatchila, starling, good as the snow, as good as gold. They shouldn't lower themselves to be with a shifcha. Maybe a mamzer, no, lechatchila nishka groise metzia the mamzer. Maybe the iser lo kodesh doesn't apply to him. Oi, next Rashi, the Eved koma. Maybe Reb Tarfon spoke with the Eved. Mamzer shenasa shifcha, past tense. He did it already. Now we're working with what we have. Aval lechatchila lo yisa. Lechatchila shouldn't marry a shifcha. We don't encourage him to do that. The Yisrael who, at the end of the day, is Yisrael. Mamzer, all mitzvahs apply to mamzer. He can be a big Talmid Chacham, it says in the Gemara, right? A mamzer can be a big chief rabbi, can be a big thing. The karina be lo yeh kodesh. The metargimin lo yisav gavra. The shifcha reike behema. Oh, now Rashi is coming to give us another dimension. Why is the Torah so strong about calling prostitution to a man who has a nice relationship with the shifcha? They respect each other. Says Rashi, no, shifcha reike behema ubi yoser hefker v'kedeshus. Because the shifcha, Kiddushin don't apply to her, this will never become marriage. Shifcha herself, she's not marriageable. In that respect, she's like a behema. So all the bias is hefker. In other words, when a regular Jewish boy, Jewish girl are together, it's also znus and it's bad. It's bad enough. I'm not encouraging it, chas v'sholem. However, it's not called kodesh. It's not as bad because they can get married. What happens by chilonim? That's normally, unfortunately, right? They meet in university, nice Jewish boy, nice Jewish girl, but not frum, and they live together, and eventually they get married. Yeah, maybe they'll even be mischazek, tarsa mishpocha, and become frum sometimes. It can morph into something more stable, right? Destabilize. But the shifcha, that will never happen, right? That will never happen. Maybe mishocheres, but that's davar shel baloilam, yeah? So mimela, that's called kodesh. That's called you behaving like a prostitute, both genders. But still the question is, and we'll leave it at that for now, and that is what? We have a question regarding Reb Tarfon. Is Reb Tarfon allowing lechatchila a mamzer to marry shifcha, or is it b'diavad? Once he did it, we say, okay, mazel tov b'diavad, now your children, you can free them and become avodim meshuchor and be kosher. So tomorrow, Be'ezus Hashem, you bring a cake. I brought one today. You bring one tomorrow. Yeah, we're finishing the perek. 3rd out of 4. I made a cheshbon at sometime mid of next month or towards the end of next month, we should be finishing the Masechta, more or less. Yeah, so in the next one, what's the next one? Get violent over here. Yeah, Makos. Atzlocha v'rocha to everybody here, everybody on YouTube, and everybody on Torah anytime. Atzlocha, may we all see gesunte kinderlach and good shidduchim for all our children and grandchildren.